Well, hey everybody, William Vanderbloemen here from what looks like a studio, but is actually the bunk room in my house. We're all kind of trying to make it work, and God's been good. As some of you know, for the last year, we've been planning for remote locations and sort of a decentralized model. And we thought we were preparing backdrops to take to WeWork solutions in 4 or 5 remote offices, but it turns out now we have backdrops to take home while we're working remotely in the middle of all this. And we kind of fell into that. But one of the people who maybe didn't foresee this pandemic, but did foresee the need to go digital before anybody else was Pushpay. And Troy Pollock is here today. Troy, thanks, man, for joining us.
Hey, William. Yeah, it's an honor to join this and talk to your audience, man. What crazy times we're in, right?
Yeah, yeah. And just in case people don't have an idea what Pushpay is, can you give me the tweetable version of you guys?
140 or 280 characters. What one do you want?
We'll give you 280.
Pushpay is a digital giving solution, and we make custom church apps as well. Those are our two primary products. And as of late last year, we have now merged with Church Community Builder. So it's a full CHMS solution.
That's awesome. And you've been there a long time, right?
Oh yeah, William, I've been at Pushpay for about 8 years. I started with our two co-founders, Chris Heaslip and Elliot Crowther. They are both from New Zealand, so I don't have the cool accent, although I can say awesome. I'm the Southern California guy with the tan. But yeah, I've been there for about 8 years and currently the longest standing employee at Pushpay.
That's amazing. And so, I was thinking back through your past and I realized, like, who knew a firefighter would be in the middle of this today, right? I mean, weren't you that your deal?
I was. Yeah, we're fighting the figurative fire right now, right, with COVID-19. But lots of the skills that I learned there at command centers, and you don't really have time to think, you just have time to react. And that's kind of what we're going through right now. I'm sure you're experiencing the same thing, but being a technology company serving the church during this time when you can't have gatherings of 10 or more, they're all going, we need technology to continue to share the unchanging message and continue our vision and mission moving forward. So it's definitely a wild time to be alive, but definitely serving the church. And we're getting a lot of inbound calls right now saying, can you help us, please?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, like the simplest form that I know of Pushpay, we've had a chance to work with you guys a number of times, including your CEO search a year ago and several other roles. But quickest thing I know is it's the quickest, easiest way for me to give to my church of anything I know. And I can do it from my phone, biometric, or are you guys Face ID now as well?
Finger ID, Face ID, when you can submit the contribution. Yeah, but in 2012, William, you'll get a kick out of this. We came with this cool tagline. It was, you can give to your church as easy as buying a song on iTunes. That was kind of our marketing ploy back in 2012. Wow. People at the church were like, wow, that's really, really cool. So we've continued to do that. So yeah, there's, you can give via text message, you can give through the church's app, you can give ACH card, you can give online, you can set up recurring. There's a whole bunch of different platforms and on-ramps to make that contribution, which really comes in handy right now for churches who passing a plate or a bucket, it can't happen right now. Those cash and givers, right? What do we do? How do we receive those contributions? So we're really trying to help churches reach those particular givers and have them transfer over to an electronic giver.
Well, they say, when I started our search firm, I told my wife, I think I need to quit my job and start a search firm for churches, start a new thing for churches. And she looked at me and said, that's because churches love new ideas. Right?
So, you said that with a straight face.
Well, I mean, she did, and in fact, she gets credit for starting the company because she should have said, I love you. I love your dreams. Go back to work. And instead, she said, let's do it. So
a very wise woman.
Yes. Well, best search I've ever done. Sure. But hey, it's interesting working with a new idea to churches. It in the time since 2008 when we started and have begun working with churches, it was all entrepreneurial brand new churches. And then when you guys started, it was like we had identical client bases for a while because it was pretty much just the innovators at first, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, love what you all do. Big fans of Vanderbloemen, the entire brand. We've partnered in many ways, from joint road shows to searches to all sorts of stuff, and then now doing this. So thank you for the opportunity to join you and combine our brands to really help the capital C church during this time. But yeah, I think, that kind of technology adoption curve, it kind of goes like that bell curve that I'm sure a lot of the viewers are used to. That first little bit called the innovators and the early adopters, we were both serving the same customers, if you will, the same type of churches who say, we want to really leverage your search engine, but then we also want to leverage this really cool new technology. I think with COVID and what's happening now is that curve has been flattened, because even the smallest of churches out there,
no pun intended.
No pun intended. Even the church that has maybe been going for 250 years or 200 years in rural America, they still need these contributions. So in a sense, that adoption curve, everybody is needing, whether it's search to help find staff or to leverage technology for this moment. So yeah, it's a very interesting time, because we were noticing that, our point solution or the giving side was not necessarily needed by those in the back half of that technology adoption curve. But now everybody is a hand raiser and everybody says we need help during this time.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're seeing the same thing. I mean, how do you get out and interview candidates for a job right now? Or how do you network at a denominational conference when there aren't any? Or how do you, so same sort of deal. But, what's really interesting is to see, as you say, the flattening of the curve. It's almost that, what's the old line? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
Well, necessity has born some invention.
Absolutely.
As we're recording this now, this weekend, so this may be old news by the time this comes out, but this weekend, the Moody Church, which I don't know if you know, in Chicago, is actually the very first mega church in United States history and the longest running mega church. They're going to elect their senior pastor. We had the chance to serve them in that search, and they're going to do the entire congregational meeting virtually, which,
wow.
I don't know if you know Moody Church, but it's fairly traditional. It's one of the most beautiful sanctuaries I've ever been in. And they've said, no, we need a leader. We can't be in this season without one. We're going to do what we've never done before. And I'm sure you've got stories like that. I mean, what are you seeing that is just making you go, wow, they're innovating so fast and they're changing?
Well, I love that story. I love that the church is saying, you know what, there's a disruption that's happened right now. Nobody knew this was happening. Nobody had the corner on the market. Nobody knew coronavirus was coming. But yet we are in the middle of announcing, is it a new senior leader at Moody?
Yes.
A new senior leader, but we're still going to use this opportunity to share the good news of us transitioning senior leaders. And we're not going to let coronavirus keep us down. I love that. Let's just shift. It's a different audible, right? We didn't go to the line of scrimmage thinking that we were going to use a Zoom call to announce this, but continue to push through. Man, we're in Seattle, Washington. So we're in the epicenter. Kirkland, where that senior citizen, that senior place was, which has had unfortunate, passings. That's about 10 minutes from our office. We're located in Redmond, Washington. So it's sistering cities. So we've been on forced remote working for probably 3 weeks right now. But a lot of the stories we're hearing are very similar to your story with Moody, William. Churches are saying, wow, we did not have this planned, but we're not going to let it stop us from sharing the unchanging message of Jesus and hope and love. We're just going to share it in a different way. We're going to share it on YouTube. We're going to share it on Vimeo. We're going to share it on Facebook Live. We're going to share it on Stream Monkey or whatever live streaming platform you have, even through the app. And we're going to even continue with our Building Fund campaign. We're raising funds for a new location. We're going to continue that. It's looking different. There's a church that we're partnered with that they have all their eKids curriculum now through Zoom. They have all of their staff meetings. They're continuing Financial Peace University, all the small groups, men small groups, women small groups. I love that because it's a resilient church that we're pushing through this and just adopting the tools that are in front of us right now to continue to share that message and continue the vision of the church.
Well, maybe the best disruption I've heard, and I say this lovingly, we have quite a few Catholic clients, which is kind of mind-boggling, but it's true. The Pope, I guess maybe you saw, issued a statement last week saying, if you can't get to confession, then we're going to say that sinners can actually go directly to God and confess their sins and receive forgiveness. It was like, yes,
breaking news, right? Yeah.
100 years finally, Reformation news happens, but everyone everywhere is doing this disruption. What do you think that you're going to see as a new norm in giving? I mean, I think we are all going to get back together. I don't think the idea that we're going to live in caves of 10 or fewer forever is plausible, as much as some folks would like to say. The Bible's, the first thing God says is bad. It's not good for you guys to be left alone. So, like, we're going to get back together. Not when do you see that happening, but what do you see happening when that occurs?
I agree with you.
With giving.
I agree with you, William. I don't think, in one way, I don't think the church will ever be the same. I think the church is in a new stratosphere and understands how to leverage technology in a new way that it can't go ever back pre-COVID-19. Like, we're at a new norm here, but I don't think it has to be a dichotomy. I don't think it has to be, is it offline or is it online? I think that's a false line in the sand that we shouldn't draw. I think it's a both end. I think it's online, but then offline, meaning gatherings in person as well too, because life change rarely happens through technology. Life change happens through face-to-face interaction. So wow. we can still stream, we can still get this message out and have no borders or boundaries on viewership. But if we just leave it at that, how are we going to really disciple the people and have their lives change? We need that face-to-face interaction, the baptisms, the taking them through a discipleship class or a growth track or whatever it may be. Giving, we have a partner who has giving as one of the key criteria that they measure spiritual growth in. So I don't think it's an either or. I don't think it's all going to be online and all church buildings are going away. I think it's a both end, and I'm excited about that. As far as giving, 100% of giving typically is coming through right now these last couple of weeks through like electronic means. Very few churches are getting the cash.
Help me understand that trend line. Like, where was that 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Like, what did that look like? How quickly has that changed?
Pretty much like your just hand movement right there. It went like that. In 2012, 2013, when Pushpay started, a healthy church in electronic giving would be in the low single digits to the low teens. Meaning, hey, we have $1 million that come in every year. We would see $100,000 come through electronic. That was a church that was crushing it. They were doing a good job. Fast forward to 2019, pre-corona, there was churches that we were partnered with, 90 to 95% of total giving was coming through electronic means. And that's not just Los Angeles or New York City. That included churches in Oklahoma or Texas. On average, we see anywhere from 40 to 60% of churches see 40 to 60% come through electronic means right now.
Wow.
And that's been crazy. And that's been exponential growth over the last 5, 6, 7 years. So I don't think it's going to continue to stay at that, because once the doors do open and buckets do get passed, folks will give cash, folks will give checks. Oftentimes the check givers are, maybe more seasoned or later in life, and they still like to enjoy giving that check and placing it in the bucket. But right now everybody's forced to be doing it through electronic means. That's just the way to give and participate. So one thing we're helping churches do is really segment givers. So run a report through your CHMS or your back-end system and reach out to those cash and check givers. You can run your 6-month report and send them an email and just let them know during this time that they can continue giving through an electronic means. Include a link to that where they can set up either a one-time or recurring contribution, so you can still get those contributions during this shutdown time.
Wait, so let's play role play for a minute. I'm a new pastor or a new client of Pushpay. I signed up pretty frantically, like, oh crap, the first week we were online, the giving was off 40%. I got to fix this, and I'm going to work on my ask a little bit, so that's going to be better. But like, what are the top tips for a church that's brand new to any digital giving or electronic giving platform? What would you tell that pastor right now?
Yeah, first and foremost, you have to communicate it. They have to hear from the senior leader that this is available and tell them why. Obviously, right now, one of the main reasons is because we're not gathering in physical locations. But there's also so many positive dividends by electronic. Oftentimes, there's an API to the back-end system, so you're not exporting, importing data, so it's a lot easier for your admin staff. the ease of setting up recurring contributions are so easy. You can set it up and forget about it. There's so many positive dividends, but communicate it. Don't spend too much time over communicating it than you would have in a regular worship gathering, but then don't under communicate it. Don't like just pretend it doesn't exist. Treat it the same way you would if you had a regular gathering. One recommendation that we do with churches right now is understanding people's viewership of an online service. Obviously, the viewership up front is much more heavy than an hour and a half later. People get busy, the kids need to go out, the dog, they go on a walk, right? Distractions happen. So putting that moment to give, the offertory moment, kind of within the first 20 minutes, use banners. Still, kind of have sliders on the lower third, ways to give, your website /give. They can text whatever amount to whatever number that you're using. They can give through your church app. You got to make people aware of it. You got to communicate thoroughly. Really tell stories. This is a great opportunity as we're not gathering in physical locations. Highlight stories. Are there people that are watching and raising their hands, accepting Jesus into their life for the very first time from your online viewership now? Are there people that have watched that would have never encountered one of your physical locations before? Are there stories that are happening through the week, though we can't gather in mass sizes, but are William and Troy talking at a deep level? And this would not have happened if we were running a Sunday program, because you're serving in this group and I'm serving in this group, and we have an agenda and we got to stay on time, but now we can do life together. Anyway, ask the team, celebrate a lot of those stories, tell what God is doing in the life of that particular church. And people are compelled to contribute and participate in that moment because now you have their heart. It's not of compulsion, but now they know, wow, our church shifted rather quickly and we adopted technology in a great way. Thank God for technology during this time. And we are still continuing to do business, if you will, just in a different way. And here's some great stories of how we're still reaching people with the great news that has never changed. Tell those types of stories. And then lastly, I would just say, reach out to those types of givers that were on cash and check and let them know via email, text message, phone call that there's a new way or a new platform for them to give. Those would be my hacks to that senior leader who's running around frantically right now going, what do I do? We had 2% of total giving come in electronically. How do I make this up? Communicate.
Well, one thing that I heard from some of our friends, I believe it was at Generis before the COVID thing, was a trend they were seeing was that one of the best ways to follow up, so it's Monday morning after the service, follow up with a new donor is to text them and thank them for the gift. Now, I've got pastor friends, smart pastor friends that want to know what people give and smart pastor friends that don't want to know what. So I get that, but this wasn't about how much did you give. It was more like, I just want to thank you for supporting the ministry of whatever church it is that they're serving. So seems to me like with online giving now, like the anonymous $100 bill on the plate has pretty much gone away. Do you guys have follow-up, like tangible steps that you've learned over the years that are great follow-up steps for new donors or new electronic donors?
Absolutely. And I love that. The power of a thank you for a first-time donor, William. I think you said it best. On Monday morning, send that text message, even have a handwritten note from a staff member or a senior leader. The likelihood somebody gives a second time after you acknowledge that first time, and I'm going to mess up the stats, but it's astronomical. It's like 400% more likely, and don't quote me on that because I just made it up, but it's astronomically high. Aren't all statistics made up? It's astronomically high, the likelihood somebody gives. Our platform, there's stuff for that. There's intel and analytics that show William Vanderbloemen gave for the very first time. Do you want to send him a thank you note? One click, boom, it's done. And you get those rich insights. But yeah, I think that that's really, really important to thank them. I think that the handwritten note is probably preferred. A text message is.
Sorry.
Tell them we're busy. Tell them we're busy. It's probably the president wanting to talk to you, right?
Jack Graham. Sorry.
Oh.
Probably
so,
a client.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways, but the power of a thank you, tell a story in different confirmation emails that the Pushpay platform does send out when a contribution is successfully done. You can have a note from your pastor. You can have stories that link off to watch a story about, we raised X amount and this is what we're doing during COVID-19. This is how we're being a blessing to our wider community, whether it's food or toilet paper type stuff. I think that that's a real important step that that unfortunately gets lost a lot of the time, because we're trying to comb through all the analytics and we just forget to actually see the person and thank them. That's all they're looking for, is you saw me and wow, tell me where my dollars are going. Be a little bit transparent
Well,
on that.
and the days of the anonymous donor, like people, maybe they don't want to know what amount, you know, they don't want you to know what an amount they gave, but it was fascinating to me that the single best way to retain a first-time donor is to text them. Like, texting used to be the private, personal thing, but if they bother to give you that mobile number, I mean,
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it. And I don't think, okay, so this is going to get me in hot water, and here's your chance to save me. Okay, I used to be a senior pastor, and I used to do the first-time visitor follow-up and first-time donor follow-up, right? And I did it just by myself, even when it was 5,000 people in the church, and you know, and I to this day just don't know that there's any replacement for the person who preached the message to follow up with the first-time donor. Is that overstated in your mind?
Personal opinion, I believe, I think the same way as you do, William. I don't think that the leader, I don't think somebody carries as big of a voice as the senior leader in that organization. And I don't think that there is something that is not as important as either thanking them for coming or thanking them for that first contribution. I am absolutely in the same camp as you. So I can't save you right now. I think we're gonna have to both save ourselves, or maybe Holly Tate can come in and save us.
There you go. There you go. At least I'm friends with a firefighter, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that that senior leader acknowledging that person, I don't think anybody else, even an executive pastor, can carry the same weight as that senior leader acknowledging it.
Well, final question that comes to mind today is, so I'm a pastor in the church, and most churches have been around. They're not newer. And so the longer you're around, the less agile you become, and you're going to get set in your ways. But I see this crisis. I mean, we've got to move to electronic giving, whether it's through Pushpay or ACH or all of the above. What advice would you give me as a pastor when I'm approaching my board, virtually approaching them probably, to say, we got to do something different? Have you found some tipping point conversations through the years?
Absolutely. And I think right now we can leverage this moment of COVID-19. I don't know when this is going to air, but that's a perfect opportunity to raise your hand at the board level and say, I need approval on this, because we still need to generate, I'm going to use a commercial term, revenue during this time. And the way to generate revenue is an electronic means. Now, find a provider that takes security of this very seriously. They take support of you and your staff very seriously. They have a roadmap and an implementation strategy so that you, senior pastor, don't have to do the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting that you have to do is get your board to approve and just communicate it out to the wider group. Let your team take care of everything beneath that. But to me, leverage this moment in time, because I believe, and I think you believe, the church, capital C, is going to come through this. We're going to come through this stronger than ever. And this is going to be a great story. Romans 8:28, not all things are good, but all things work together for the good. And I think that that's what's going to happen during this moment in time. And that's going to help set up the church to be relevant and strong in years and decades to come, because this device, William, we do everything from this device. So senior leader, it's not going anywhere. This is not a fad. This is not just going to come here for COVID and then go away. This is here to stay. And so let's get our churches using the same technology that our consumers, our attendees, our parishioners are using Monday through Friday. Let's have them use that for the Sunday experience as well.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Troy. Hey, you've got a conference coming up, and you guys planned ahead for it to be online, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Much like you were planning for remote working, November, December of 2019, we were strategizing what our next conference is going to look like. We've done 5 or 6 in-person conferences from Southern California to Dallas, Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina. And we said, what if we do something digital? What a great idea. Pushpay, a technology company, let's do something digital only. Now, we look like geniuses right now. We didn't have this understanding back then, but we do. It's going to be May 13. It's churchdisrupt.com. It's a free conference for everybody. William, our heart really is to help equip the church with tactical and practical ways to leverage technology to continue to share their message. Our tagline is rethink methods, champion change, fuel the vision. And I think it's coming at a perfect time. So May 13th can't come quick enough. And thank you for letting me jump on here and talk to you and talk to your audience. Love what you all are doing. We're praying for you often. And it was great to catch up with you, William.
Thanks, Troy. Appreciate it. And appreciate all of you tuning in. I know there's a lot of content going on out there, but if ever there was a time when we want to resource you with what we've learned over the years, this is it. So if I'm sure Troy would say the same thing, but if there's anything we can do to help you or resource you, do not be bashful. Just give us a call. We'll do anything we can. God bless you all, and thanks for tuning in.
God bless.